So there's something on TV over here. Hey, guy selling his soul on some old. First I thought it was Ray Bradbury Theater, but my mouth's frozen. I'm eating ice cream in my mouth like I didn't realize that. Yeah, so people selling their souls and demons and stuff. You know, I talk about these things that may seem weird and strange. Whatever. So many times, or not many times, I've done several videos where I talk about the bad man. Okay. So, anyway, we're going to get to that in a second. So, I'm on Twitter and I see these tweets about Joe Rogan. He was talking to some guy. I don't watch his podcast. I don't have stamina, which is ridiculous since I make long videos myself. But the reason I do it that way is because it's almost like stream of consciousness or whatever, and the stuff comes out when it comes out. So, if I was organized, it's not that I don't have time, it's just I'm completely scatterbrained and not organized. If I had time, I would watch. There's a few podcasts and stuff like that I would listen to and watch and stuff. What I end up doing is I end up watching a lot of reaction videos. I don't know why that's my thing now, but I watch reaction videos. I watch pick-up cars. I watch YouTube videos that people have. They're specifically about, like, if I feel like it's information I need, or the kind of stuff I want to hear from. Because a lot of times, like in the case of somebody like Joe Rogan, he talks about a lot of stuff I like, but he talks about it to this wide audience, so I don't know how well versed he is in some of these things. But a lot of times when I start to watch them, I'm like, okay, well, this is like stuff I thought about already, or information I learned about before. Oh, my face is bad. I didn't realize how bad it was. Sorry. I don't, it comes and goes and is off and on. My skin getting worse and breaking out, and I don't realize it because I don't look in the mirror. I mean, I look in the mirror for a second in the morning, you know what I mean? But I don't go doing my hair and putting on makeup and, you know, some kind of vanity mirror and stuff like that. So I don't really pay attention. My face is still there, you know. I just jump in the shower. I don't sit there and do all that stuff. And whenever I use this stuff, it gets worse. So now I'm digressing. Anyway, he was talking about the people who took the vaccine. Again, I did not take the vaccine. Now, last year, I stepped on a nail and I got a tetanus shot. And after I got it, I'm like, what if they snuck the vaccine in there? But I have not gotten a vaccine at all. You know what I mean? I didn't want it. I don't like getting vaccines since I've been grown. You know, since I started thinking about things. So say once I came home. But of course, like I said, we all got them as kids. I got them to go to college and stuff like that. I only went to England, so I didn't go anywhere where you have to get weird vaccines or anything like that. But yeah, so that was a personal choice, and I didn't care if other people got it or not. I just worried that something was wrong from the beginning, because if you listened to what the people who were telling people to get vaccines were saying, there were risks at the time, and you couldn't talk about it because you would be. But it was, the fact is that just with the information that was out there through the regular media, through everybody who was saying it, there were some things you should think about, you know what I mean? So, but anyway, like I said, I am the kind of person, I would not have gotten one. I do not get a flu shot. I never get a flu shot. Whether I get the flu or not, if I get a flu, I must get a mild one. I don't know. The COVID thing, I think I probably got COVID a few times. But I think I got a weak version of it or something, because I've never lost my taste buds. But there was a few times where I felt ill for like half a day. But it was mostly my stomach. And I feel like COVID, and probably if there's any COVID in the vaccine, what it seems to do is it seems to attack your weakness. You know what I mean? So say you were a carrier for some disease, but you didn't have the disease. I think it would find the disease and pop it out. Or let's say shingles. You know how shingles is like, oh, the virus is inside you. The commercial comes on all the time. You know, how there's things you can be walking around with, you know, like if you had chicken pox as a kid, which I did, everybody did, then you can get shingles later on because the virus is in there somewhere. So, apart from that, like there are hereditary diseases that people have, or, you know, things that are rare that, you know, like I said, they may be a carrier for, but it just didn't develop. I think that it seemed to me, and the reason I came up with that was because Christopher Cross, the singer, was one of the first people who I followed on Twitter, who I knew about, who got it, and he suddenly got this weird, I forgot what it's called, but it was like he got him bad, and this I guess it's a syndrome or something like that. It sprung up, and then he couldn't play guitar. He couldn't do anything, almost, you know. But it was set. So from there, I said, well, maybe it attacks something that, or what do you want to call it? Heightens or blossoms or amplifies something that was in there. That's what it seemed like to me. So, you know, and I don't understand how vaccines are made. I know there was 2 different kind. I don't know any of that stuff. I just know I don't like getting them ever, flu shot, whatever. I don't like medication. I will take supplements if I feel like I need them. I will take an aspirin or an Advil or something if I need it. I will take cough syrup if I absolutely need it. But I'd rather not. You know what I mean? And in terms of like, I feel like part of the reason I have this lovely figure is because I took too much antibiotics years ago because of a tooth that needed a root canal. And I took it wrong, and I took too much, and I think it ruined my gut bacteria. And that's how come I was perfectly normal, and then all of a sudden I just started gaining weight, eating the same and being the same. So, and my experience going to the doctors and having things done and whatever, or not done, if I could go back in time and raise myself, I would have raised myself to be more doing my own health care and not just living my life and then going to the doctor if something was wrong. I would have been more health conscious in terms of conscious. I said conscience. See? Oh, trying to overpronounce it, I said the wrong word. More health conscious in terms of just not really taking anything out, but just knowing about food and, you know, knowing, not listening to the advice, but finding out the real stuff. You know what I mean? So yeah, if I could go back in time and be, you know, raised myself as a 10-year-old, I would have done things differently, and I would have just, like I said, try to be more aware of herbal remedies, stuff like that. And, you know, just know more about my own health. And avoid doctors at all costs, because it's about money. Everything's about money. Everything is about evil, and evil is money. And it's true and it's not true. And I should have chased some money, but not to the point where it became evil anyway. You understand? That money is a root of all evil thing is a bad phrase, but it's also true, but you also need it. So it can become extremely evil if you have none, because then you have to commit crimes. If you have to, you know what I mean? So, anyway. But where the greed comes in, and companies and administrations and people who need to keep their jobs, and people want better jobs, they want to have enough money so they feel like they don't have to have a job. That level of greed, and people who will sell their mother up the river for more money when they already have enough money, that's the real evil. And that's what happens a lot with these things. So Joe Rogan there was a clip on Twitter of, and this is how I see most of his stuff, somebody puts up a clip I follow the YouTube channel that has clips and stuff like that, but I never end up watching them because it's either stuff I've already thought about or news I've already heard about, stuff like that. But like I've been trying to refocus on ancient stuff and alien stuff, and so I watch the Ancient Aliens. But out of all the guys who come on it, I don't like that Graham Hancock guy, and that's the one he keeps having on. So I'm like, But there was a clip of him talking. I think the guy's name's Brett Weinstein. Anyway, they were talking about something. I don't know what the longer conversation was, but the clip that they showed on Twitter was about him saying how we have to forgive the people who hated those of us who did not get vaccinated now. I disagree. Number one, I don't do forgiveness. I don't do it anymore. I understand the concept. I think it's a great thing where it should happen. Now, I know Oprah and her journaling and all the people she used to have on. Oprah became a big proponent of telling people that they had to forgive. She's like, somebody's kid would be murdered and she'd be like, oh, well, if you can forgive them. And, you know, at the time I was like, yeah, well, you know, but what I found in being a human being, and as I've gotten older, I look around and I'm like, yeah, you know, that line being out there for so long puts it on good people to forgive evildoers. You know, and that allows the evildoers being evil to keep doing it because they're like, well, yeah, I may be doing something wrong, but if they don't forgive me, then they're the bad guy. You know what I mean? It's a backwards way of letting people get away with murder by, oh, well, you're the one who's got to forgive them. You're the victim here, but you must forgive them or else you're bad too. So, if you want to forgive somebody, if you carry it, like if I have villains in my life, I'm done with them. You know what I mean? If there are people in my life, I don't want to think about them. I don't want to put energy out there because I don't want to think bad thoughts about people. I don't want to think about them. I don't want to hear about them. What makes me angry is when people show up like everything's supposed to be fine. And it's like, no, I went about my life and I left you alone and I didn't demand reparations. I didn't seek justice. I said, you know what? You're a piece of shit in my life. I don't want to ever spend any more minutes of time on you. I don't want to spend any energy. I don't want to talk to you. And then because of that, you are let off scot-free. Go do whatever the hell you want. Just don't be in my brain. Don't be in my face. Don't be in my... I don't want to breathe the same air as you. Just be gone. And then I don't think about them. I don't sit there and think, oh, I hope they're doing bad. I hope their life is hell. I just don't ever think about them again. If I happen to run into people like that, it used to drive me crazy. There was an aunt I had. She's dead now. But there was an aunt I had who really was a villain in my life. And I just wanted her to just leave me alone. You know, she had a hard time doing this because we're related. And like I owed her because, well, I can treat you however you want. We're family. And it's like, I stopped talking to her a million times before I was like, that's it. You know? And I would get really pissed off if I had to see her because I was like, I don't want to think about her because all I'm going to think about is all the time I spent around this woman, how it was a drain on my life, how she was a negative influence on me. And I don't want to think about all those things. I want to just do my life. So if I'm la-di-da doing my day and then I would see this person, it would piss me off because I was like, why couldn't I have gone down the other road? Why did I have to be there just then? And I would get pissed off at the situation that I saw her. I wouldn't want her to die in a fire or anything. I just don't want to be reminded of all the bad feelings I have. So I'd rather forget. You know what I mean? But because in a situation like a person like this, I stopped talking to her a bunch of times, which means I started talking to her again. And every time I did, all that happened was that they would treat me the same. People treat you like shit, they're going to treat you like shit again. You forgive people, they're going to do it again. So at that point, you're abusing yourself if you keep going back. Do you know what I mean? I think I'm getting fuzzy. Wait a minute. Okay, so over time, thinking about people, like I said, they come on a talk show and either Oprah or Dr. Phil or some pretend psychiatrist. Yeah, I'm out of focus. I don't know why. They'll try to put it on the person to forgive somebody who killed somebody who mattered to them, or did a horrible thing to them, and then put on the person like, well, you're never going to be right if you don't forgive. I started to really hate that people did that to people, because it's like, you're making this person carry the weight, and they didn't do anything wrong, you know? So my whole attitude about forgiveness is what I don't think I ever saw the movie that's called God Forgives, but I don't. But I decided that was going to be my motto. And again, as a Catholic, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Well, it became very hard for me to say that, because I knew I wasn't going to forgive anybody. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to just have to not be forgiven of my trespasses and ride with it, because my philosophy was such that I can't say that anymore. I can't say, because I'm not going to forgive other people. People treated me like shit, and what did they do? They got away scot-free. I left them alone. Fine. But then when you forgive people and you it's like you're giving them a get out of jail free card, you know? And it's like, get them out of your life and have them be gone. They don't deserve your forgiveness. They don't deserve your good thoughts. They're just, you want to be over there and hate my guts, so you want to be over there and think bad things about me, you go right ahead and do it. You know what I mean? And that means I don't do apologies either. I feel like we're all doing what we do in this life. We're all racking up a rap sheet. You know what I mean? If you like apologies and you want people to apologize to you, fine. I don't buy them at all anymore. I don't even want to hear it. It's like, yeah, so don't treat me like shit again. And I don't want to hear about you treating other people like shit either, because I will know that you did not repent and you just decided that you know, you could do shit to people and then say you're sorry. I spit everywhere again. Sorry. I told you my mouth was frozen. So, anyway, my stance on forgiveness is generally no. Now, in the case of the people who hate those of us who didn't get the vaccine, I've said many times I've been looking for a job. People have a million reasons not to hire me. Not a million reasons, the same reason that I'm not working now. And that's what it's been for years. And the longer you're not working, the less people want to hire you for anything. Even if you could do the job or whatever, it doesn't matter. But the brand new thing that blocks me from everything is that I didn't get vaccinated. So you can't even apply for jobs that are where they have that mandate, which there are now places where they're having to undo that because they lost a lot of people. I think, you know, like I said before, it seemed like in New York, they said, I swear I read something that said that they made it so that teachers have to get their jobs back, or it wasn't lawful for them to be fired if they didn't get the vaccine or something like that. And apparently in the military, they're also letting go of the vaccine mandate because they just lost way too many people in the military. That's what I've heard. I don't know if that's true. But so at this point in time, we're this far along, there's actual news stories and actual stuff coming out from official sources that are going different ways now, that are more aligned with what those of us who did not want the thing said in the first place. So Joe Rogan was talking about to this man, and he's talking about how people should they're the people that hate us, and the people, but they hate us to a degree. They want us to die. Remember, Sean Penn said that people who didn't get vaccinated should be arrested. There are other people who said that people who didn't get the vaccine shouldn't be treated in hospitals. Oh, you didn't get the vaccine? Well, just die then. You know? Yeah, these are things that people thought. You can't forgive people who want you to die. You can't forgive people who want you to be arrested for doing nothing to no one. But the door outside is creaking. It creaks if I don't lock it, and I didn't lock it because I don't know if the mailman is late or he's not coming today. So I'm just like, no, you can't forget, because for these people haven't apologized for all the hater things they said, how much they hate us, how much they want us to die. I mean, they really have hatred for people who didn't get vaccinated. And they cause people to lose jobs. And they decided that if you were one of those people that didn't get the vaccine, you were all the other things. Like I said, that they lump in with Trump voters, and you're a white supremacist, and you're a homophobe, and a transphobe, and you're all these horrible things. And it's fine if you're removed from society as far as they're concerned, because they only want people like them. And people like them think all the same thoughts, and if you don't, you can die. And that's what has developed over the last few years. And that has not gone away. And the idea that we should now forgive, again, I'm like, go live your life over there. I don't want anybody to give me anything. I would just like to be treated fairly again. You know, but they are not doing that. They are doubling down, because now there's a panic, I believe, because you're starting to see a lot of people have health issues that may or may not have something to do with side effects that could have come from this. And the belief that these people have to hold to not be afraid for their own lives forces them to continue to hate us. And understanding all that, understanding people's wacky psychology and what they need to tell themselves to continue to make it through the day. I've had to tell myself a lot of things to make it through the day in the world that I live in, where somebody like me who thinks for myself and uses my own voice can be canceled at any time just because I think my own thoughts. I'm not trying to harm anybody. I've tried for 2 years now to just put my own opinion out there and try to say, look, this is how I am. This is exactly who I am. If you want to hate me, fine, but I don't hate you. And that's been my stance this whole time, from being a Trump voter to anything else. That people want to paint you as this horrible person who hates other people. I dislike idiots. I dislike stupidity. I don't hate anybody. I don't hate any groups. I've said it a million times. I only hate people who've done things to me directly. And the number of people I actually hate, I could count on one hand. But it's very personal to me. It's not some group or some person in theory. I could name them, and I probably know where they live. So, the idea, and Joe Rogan, I don't think he's from Massachusetts. I think he may have started here. Maybe from New York. But there's a no BS kind of philosophy that a lot of us have from up here in the Northeast. And I feel like that's why a lot of people didn't like Trump. He's very much a New Yorker. And sometimes he would say things and people were so offended. And I'm like, he didn't say anything offensive, because that's how we talk. And there's a straightforwardness, and, you know, anybody around here, educated or not, whatever kind of degree they have or don't have, you know, a lot of people think for themselves. And you will hear people who just think and talk and, you know, watch the news, maybe read the newspaper, and they have their opinions, and they may have very little formal education, but they think for themselves. And they speak, you know, they speak their truth, you know, and they say, and when things don't make sense, people don't go along with it. I know for a long time, I don't know what happened after a while when they started having mandates for jobs, but I know for a long time in this area where I live, people were really resisting getting the vaccine. People have their own information about things in history where people were experimented on. You know, so you have your own mind, you have your own information, you should be able to make your own decision. And that's what me and a lot of other people did. And this other side, these people who Joe Rogan thinks we should forgive, they still hate us for making our own decisions about our own person. Meanwhile, their body, their choice for abortion rights. But when it came down to whether people wanted to get vaccinated or not, they didn't have that same energy. And again, I vote pro-choice because I want people to be free to make their own decisions, and I always have. And I want you to be free to live your life over there. But if you hated me, if you wanted me to suffer and die if I didn't get the vaccine, no, I'm not going to forgive you, and I'm not going to forgive anybody who does things wrong just because it's what Oprah said we should do, or what somebody thinks is a way to be spiritual. You know, there's a lot in this world that's allowing yourself to be victimized, allowing yourself to be abused over and over again, turning way too many cheeks. Just lets the bad guys win, and then you're doing the wrong thing, because you're not teaching people a lesson. You're telling people you can treat people like shit. You can do this and get away with it. And if not getting away with it just means you lose a friend, or you lose somebody's good energy, or you lose somebody's goodwill, if you're okay with losing people's goodwill, go ahead and treat people like that. But once you've lost my goodwill, you're not getting it back because of some self-help book somebody read one day. You know, the other thing that it's funny, because like I said, it seems like the stuff Joe Rogan talks about, and I'm glad he's talking about it, because it gets to people now, because he's got such a huge platform. It gets to people now, and it gets to them in a way that maybe wasn't so frightening for the powers that be a few years ago, when those of us who were more brave and bold and quicker on the draw said some things. There was another video I saw like on Fox News or something. They were showing something that another clip from Joe Rogan, where he was talking about someone. Now, I've made these videos a lot, and I will talk about evil, and I talk about evil as if it's a real thing, as if a person could be an antichrist type figure. And I have very many times talked about the bad man, and I won't say his name because he's that bad. And there are other people who talk about these things. Russell Brand, I used to watch all the time, but he did some things that made me wonder if he wasn't a stooge as well, especially his stance on the Johnny Depp thing. I'll never understand it, because everything else he was very anti-mainstream media, but he went right along with the narrative on Johnny Depp, and I'll never understand that. So I was just like, nope, I gotta bail right now. But when he talks about bad people running things, he talks about other people, and a particular one guy with a very it was funny, because there was the bad man I always talked about. I thought this guy, people who know he's the bad man. And then over the last few years, there's another guy who everybody seems to point to as the bad man. And I'm like, yeah, he's doing his thing, but he's not remotely what the bad man I'm talking about is. So the bad man I've been talking about, the one who has so much influence, the one who's done all these things, I've known about for a long time. When things started to go wrong, when I started really sensing evil, it was because of local things that were happening here. And it was, I was trying to remember, it was probably, like I'm saying, it was probably around 2012 when the world ended. So evil was taking hold, and years ago I used to think that, just from knowing, you know, some Edgar Casey stuff or Nostradamus, I used to think that Osama bin Laden was maybe the Antichrist, or, you know, Saddam Hussein, and a lot of people who used to interpret those quatrains and everything, they used to come up with, you know, and then it was supposed to be over. So there was a point where I thought evil had been let loose, and I said that I thought it was 1996 when I started hearing about Osama bin Laden. So there was that. But I don't think bin Laden or Saddam was anywhere near the kind of invasive evil of this bad man. This is what I'm saying. I say it like that. I say it like we're talking about He Who Must Not Be Named, which is what they call Voldemort and Harry Potter, because it's that bad. I'm not afraid of Voldemort. But this guy is the bad man. And Joe Rogan just mentioned him, and I'm like, wow, really? He did? And it was funny, because I was looking in the comment section on this post, on this YouTube video, and the people of Fox News were like, hello, we've been talking about him for years. And I'm like, yeah. You know, but He's been around. He's been spoken about. He's been open about what he was doing. And that's the thing that's amazed me about a lot of the stuff that's happened that's supposed to be so bad, which is so bad. But it's not hidden. It's in people's face. Like I said, I'm on the internet a lot of the time now. But I mostly watch NBC, and I get my news from mainstream media. But it's there. What they're doing has always been right there. These people are visible people. You can tell who they're talking about. You know, you see a villain, he shows up with villain music in a villain outfit, saying, I'm going to do some villainy things. And everybody's like, oh. And then they just go on to the next news story. Those of us who are paying attention are like, what did he say? He's doing what? He did what before? He did that to the currency where? That, what? Why does he do these things? So now, on this clip, Joe Rogan is wondering what this man's endgame was. And he's saying he seems like a Batman villain. And this is what I said before about this bad man. He just wants to watch the world burn. That is evil. They are angry about the life they had. They grew up in a situation they didn't like. I don't know. Maybe they're ugly. Maybe they don't like, I don't know. They feel like life is unfair. So they do a deal with the devil somewhere, or they just are devilish. And it grows and it fosters in them, just like somebody who works out gets bigger muscles. Somebody who practices evil from the beginning grows in devilry. They get more and more evil over time. And that's what I think this bad man is. And he's been doing it for years, and everybody knows about him. And they know the kind of control he's tried to have and has had. And he's done this over time. And I've been paying attention. Like I said, I've known for like 10 years. This came on my radar for a long time ago. And I've watched it build. I didn't think about him being involved with the stuff that I was seeing the evil around me take shape, and how it seemed fascist-like, and it seemed like something out of Hydra's playbook. And I was looking at it, and I was seeing it happen, and I was seeing it happen in the media, and I was seeing it happen in my town, and I was seeing it happen in local things. And it was clear to me. I don't have special intelligence or special powers or special information. It's just a person paying attention to the world around me, especially locally, paying attention to the national news, hearing news stories, hearing about this and that on Twitter or from YouTube. And, okay, sometimes things are in the media, sometimes not. Sometimes there's an earthquake that gets reported on, sometimes there's not. Sometimes there's something going on in a foreign country, and maybe because they don't check BBC News like I do, or they don't know about it, you know. But all the paying attention I've done, taking information from here and there and here and there, it's very clear to me what's been going on for a long time, and that this bad man has been the one. Why? Because he's evil. Because he wants to be. Because he's evil incarnate. And I've been saying this for a long time. And I've been calling him the bad man on this here channel for 2 years. Not every single video I do. But when I bring up the nature of things and what's going on and why is the world like this, there are people who were right there. And everybody knows they were right there. But they don't pay attention, or they don't really listen, or they just let it roll off their back. But it's like all these other people you're trying to blame. You know, you want to, all the ones who are competing to buy up all the land and to have all the stuff and all, or you know, if they have interest in the, they're bad guys too, but they're not the bad man. The bad man is much worse than all of them. So all those other people everybody's been talking about, this billionaire, that billionaire, the other billionaire, the ones everybody's been talking about, pushing this and pushing that, this one's been in the shadows, but in a different way, where it really matters. And people never understood where it really mattered. I told people years ago, I remember years ago, people were, I don't know if it was around the time of gay marriage votes. I think it was that time that California said no to gay marriage. And I was telling people on Awards Daily, if they wanted to get involved, they want to do something important in their community, they should go and get on their school board, the local school board. Because in the end, those people decide what happens to your children. They decide your children's education. That forms who your children are going to be. And that determines what your community is going to be like when those children are the adults. And now look at the children. They're mindless zombies controlled by Instagram filters. You know? There were no Instagram filters 10 years ago when I was saying stuff like that. But yeah, this has been going on. And this bad man has been running it. And the thing that I saw that did it was an actual interview that he did with a well-known reporter on a very famous newscast. And in that interview, by his own words, I understood that he was a very evil man, and he was fine being that evil man. He was like, yeah, I'm here to be evil. How you like me now? And he was unabashed. But he's been this bad man. And that somebody with a platform like Joe Rogan's just catching on is kind of weird. But it's also like, wow, that's interesting. He's going to say that. What's going to happen next? And I know I'm talking in code. But the fact is, this bad man has been the bad one. And somehow through all the last few years, everybody's focusing on all these other guys, all these other figureheads of evil, all these other people, and they just skip over his name all the time. I don't think they're skipping over it like I'm not skipping over it. I'm just calling him the bad man because I don't want to say his name. You want to know why? One time I was talking to my cousin on the phone. I said his name, the phone hung up like that. We got disconnected. The phone just cut out. I'm not kidding. So you could say that's supernatural. You could say he runs everything. I don't know. But that really happened. And in all my history of talking to other people, my phone never cut out like that. Ever. To anybody. Not I have an amazing phone. Just never happened. The minute I said his name, boom. It was like there was a kill switch. So I don't say his name. But he's the one running things. He's the one who's had all this. And he's drawing from evil. I am 100% certain. I don't need all these other Illuminati people doing blood sacrifices or kid sacrifices, whatever the hell they're supposed to be doing. This one bad man is doing the right things to ruin the world for everybody else. And he has been. Because he wants to ruin everything for everybody else. Because that's the why. Why is he doing it? Because I'm not forgiving him, and I'm not forgiving anybody else, because all the people who are they don't want a teenager to have sex with somebody who's 19 or 20 or 22 or whatever. They don't want a 17-year-old having sex with, because that's rape. They wanted to, with their vaccines, they wanted to force that into you. You know what I mean? You can't give a kid a beer. It's a crime, right? But they want to force you to give this kid this thing that's gonna. Those people are also evil. They decided to become agents of evil when they went from, well, I want to get vaccinated, but it's personal choice, and I just think I'm doing the right thing for me, but I understand other people have their own sovereignty over their own bodies. Once they went from that to, well, I got vaccinated, so you should have to get vaccinated. If you don't get vaccinated, you should be held accountable, and you should lose your job, or you shouldn't be able to teach, or all these other things, or you're going to kill grandmas if you don't get this vaccine, because I'm 100% sure that the science says that you're going to kill people by not getting vaccinated. And people still believe that. And they still hate me and everybody else who didn't get the vaccine for that. and they're not going to change, and I'm not going to forgive them, and I'm not going to forgive them next week. I feel bad. I feel really bad. There have been a couple people lately who they have suddenly died, and who knows what it's from. It could be from anything, but they were people who hated people like myself, who didn't get vaccinated, and they said so on social media, and they said how horrible people like I am. But I felt sad when they died, because it's sad when people die. They wanted me to die, but I didn't want them to die. And I feel bad that if it does turn out that their belief in this thing is what ended up killing them, then they were just, they were conned, and they were lied to, and they were brainwashed. And I don't understand. Like I said, I like cult leaders. I don't get cult followers. I don't get giving your mind over to someone else. And if it gets to the point where you give your mind over to someone else and they get you to do harm to other people because they've influenced you, so like say the Manson family, like I don't mind Charles Manson. The Manson family, they bother me. Like, you killed people because somebody told you to? Or you think they influenced you to? Where was your mind? Anybody who tries to blame President Trump for storming the Capitol building, you do your own thing. You do the things you do. You're still in charge of yourself. So if you decide to do something, you can be influenced, you can be brainwashed. There's Stockholm Syndrome. There's a lot of stuff, but I might feel bad for you in your weakness, but you were still weak. It's fine if you just go along with the thing and you get yourself into trouble. But when you come down on other people, when you harm other people, when you try to remove other people from society based on your brainwashing, well, now you've done something to somebody else. So you're not just a victim of brainwashing and mind control and all these things. Now you've tried to turn it on other people, and that's where you're not going to get forgiven. Like I said, God forgives. I don't. I still got to watch that movie because I keep quoting it, the title. But yeah, I don't forgive anymore. I will let you live in peace over there doing your own thing. And I will not think about you either way, because I don't want to have negative thoughts going out about people. But no. No. Evil is out there. And if you've taken that side, because the sides are splitting, and it's not red and blue, it's good and evil. It is. And like I said, we fight that battle every day. And if you're on the side of evil, no, I can't forgive you. Now that's somebody else's job, not mine.